Investigative journalism is one of our most important tools for exposing misdeeds and holding power to account. But it can be just as important in its ability to put faces on the stories that we may have become numb to make us look and listen. This is the story of a CUNY graduate who became a Pulitzer Prize winner and her work on an unflinching investigation into the AR-15. In March 2023, the Washington Post began publishing a series of articles about the AR-15, which looked at how the rifle intersects with American culture, politics, and violence. As a senior video producer, Angela Hill co-led the project's video team.
My video colleague and I, we were mostly focused on looking at those who were impacted by AR-15, so victims and family members of victims, as well as gun owners. This is a gun that has been a part of our national story for some time now. And so we really wanted to take a very holistic approach in how we talked about this gun and how we sort of positioned the various stories. We wanted to sort of like make sure that we were coming at it from a variety of different angles.
Journalism wasn't Angela's only interest growing up. Born in Connecticut and raised in Maryland, Angela had a very busy extracurricular schedule, courtesy of her mother.
I was the kid who was pretty much interested in a lot of things, right? I loved sports, and so I was very active in playing sports. My mom, who was a single parent, didn't have a whole lot of money, but also found a way to make the sacrifices. She had me enrolled in gymnastics and karate, and I loved baseball. Also loved to, I loved to write. And I always said I wanted to grow up to be a writer, but I wasn't a big reader. And so my mom would always remind me, she was an avid reader. So she would always remind me, if you wanted to be a great writer, you also had to be a great reader. And so we spent lots of weekends at the local library.
Angela first dabbled in journalism as an editor of her high school newspaper, and then as a contributor to her college newspaper and yearbook at Georgetown University. But a career in the field didn't come right away.
I landed a job back in my hometown of Stamford, Connecticut at a pretty large corporation there doing marketing, and did marketing and public relations for a while. And I love to tell the story of how I actually really got my foot into journalism. I used to walk to work every morning, and I would pass the Urban League in downtown Stamford at the time. And there was a gentleman who would always be outside of the Urban League. He was waiting for some of his students to come. He sort of ran a program there. And so we just ended up striking up a conversation one morning, and it turned out he was a freelance producer for the local NPR station. And I said, wow, I always wanted to do journalism. It's pretty cool. And so he said, why don't I introduce you to my news director?
Angela snagged a job working mornings at the local station while still holding her full-time position. But she'd caught the bug and soon decided to pursue a formal education in journalism. In 2006, Angela was accepted into the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism, at that time known as the CUNY Graduate School of Journalism, or the J School, where she became a member of the school's inaugural class.
I was, of course, very nervous and scared. I didn't know what I was signing myself up for. Even though I had a little bit of journalism experience already, most of my time was in the corporate sector doing marketing and public relations. But I have a lot of fond memories of the school. I mean, it certainly was a very rigorous program. They didn't cut us much slack in terms of learning the craft of journalism, and I'm so grateful for that. I was a part of the class that had a very small broadcast class, so there were only 7 of us. Our professor, Scotty Williston, she nicknamed us the Magnificent Seven, and for many years, even after we graduated, we would get together twice a year to just have brunch. Over time, we all ended up in different places, but would still find a way to reconnect.
Angela graduated from the J School and received her master's degree in 2007. An accomplished career followed, which found Angela reporting and producing a number of award-winning stories for ABC News in New York and at Scripps Washington Bureau in Washington, D.C. In 2021, Angela joined the Washington Post as a senior video producer, where she co-led a team of video journalists to produce mini documentaries and other multimedia projects for the paper. It was shortly after her arrival that the Post began its long, hard look at the AR-15.
The history of the AR-15 and how it's become such a popular weapon and how it's become an icon for many gun owners, largely it can be summed up in the power of marketing.
The AR-15, or the Armalite Rifle Model 15, was created to cater to U.S. military interest in a lightweight weapon that could match the Soviet-made AK-47. Designed to fire at high speeds and with minimal recoil, the AR-15 could be effectively used by even the most inexperienced shooter. In 1964, the gun made its debut in the Vietnam War, sporting a slight redesign and a new but equally recognizable name, the M16. Civilian versions of the AR-15 proved less popular, however. For decades, gun owners were not only uninterested in AR-15s, some were downright hostile. The black rifle found itself exiled to the back corners of gun shows. But after 9/11, America entered its first major sustained war since Vietnam. Americans were back to seeing images of soldiers holding AR-15-style guns on the nightly news. And gun companies saw something else: opportunity.
This is my rifle.
It's been tested in every theater of war for the last 50 years.
There are many like it, but this one is mine.
Over the next 10 years, businesses used images of American soldiers and police using AR-15-style rifles to craft a larger-than-life, almost mythic quality in the minds of consumers.
This is Colt.
Their efforts were successful. Sales boomed, and the AR-15 went from being a pariah at gun shows to being the belle of the ball. But with this newfound popularity came a grisly new tool for American criminals.
Well, welcome back. We're following this breaking news out of Sutherland Springs, Texas. A shooting taking place at the First Baptist Church there.
10 of the 17 deadliest mass shootings since 2012 involved the AR-15. I mean, this was a really tough story to report, right? Because some folks are just not in a place, even if it happened years ago, to really talk about or relive or revisit that experience. And so we were very fortunate to be able to identify individuals who talk with us about their experience.
There was really hardly anybody that could rise up and challenge him. With these bullets just flying through the air, nobody could. It just kept going on and on.
And then on the flip side of that, talking with individuals who owned AR-15, some individuals who owned multiple AR-15s, right? And really trying to understand, you know, why they owned the gun.
There's a lot of people that own guns that are never, ever going to aim them at a person.
I see so much that reflects that era that I grew up in, and I felt like it would be a good thing just to be prepared to defend my community and my family.
I'm glad that I had an opportunity to talk to some of those people, right? Because I think I came in not really understanding why do you need an AR-15, right? And, you know, wherever you fall on your belief of whether people should have them or not, I think it's very helpful to hear the stories, right? To hear from people. And I think that's one of the things that we really wanted to make sure we underscored.
In 2024, Angela Hill and the staff of the Washington Post won the Pulitzer Prize in National Reporting for their sobering examination of the AR-15 and its fraught relationship with modern America. Today, Angela is the Ida B. Wells Professor in Journalism at Arizona State University's Washington, D.C. campus, where she helps cultivate the next generation of investigative journalists.
You know, people always say, now more than ever, journalism is important, or now more than ever, investigative journalism is important. And I will say that it is, but I think it's always important. It's always important for us to be able to dig deep, peel back the layers, because if we don't, who else is going to do it, right? So I would just say it's vitally important that we maintain as much investigative journalism as we possibly can.
Angela Hill's work with the Washington Post provided readers with an intimate and often heart-wrenching look at individuals whose paths have crossed with a larger-than-life icon of American gun culture. But by pulling back the curtain on both the AR-15's victims and its owners, that mythology starts to give way to reality, one driven by people and institutions rather than some unseen force. And when a problem no longer seems larger than life, neither will change.